Welcome, everybody. It's lovely to see you all here. This is a rerun of a masterclass that was very popular in February, and unfortunately, I forgot to record it. But that meant that I got to ask Christelle to come back and do it again, and we had such lovely feedback from the last one. And I think it's great because not only can I remember to press record this time, but it gives you a chance to hear her live and actually ask questions. Because sometimes just listening to a recording is useful, but it's just not as good as being able to actually ask somebody questions. So basically, my job here is to kind of facilitate, moderate. Christelle is absolutely the star. I've known Christelle for a few years now, but it was all mainly online until last year when we were at the same conference in Prague, and it was so lovely to actually meet her in person. But I love the way that she talks about data governance. And when she first said to me about doing data governance in an agile manner, I went, "Oh, wow, that's really cool," because that's something I get asked a lot. I was formerly a project manager before I got into data governance, but so long ago, Agile wasn't even thought of. I did things in a very regimented waterfall fashion. And so it was really great talking to Christelle about it, which is why I ended up asking her whether she would be happy to do this masterclass. And you can guess what the answer was, since we're all here today. So I'm not going to waste precious time talking. I'm going to hand over to Christelle, who can introduce herself far better than I can, and dive into the question of data governance. Just a couple of housekeeping. If you could keep yourself on mute, just it's better for everybody's sound quality and doesn't disrupt Christelle while she's presenting. If you've got a question, please type it in the chat, and I'll interrupt Christelle for you at the right time. But we really want you to ask questions. You'll get so much more about this if you actually ask questions. So thank you, everybody, and over to you, Christelle.
Thanks a lot for the nice introduction, Nicola. Yeah, so now we're switching to the French accent in English. And yeah, as I was saying last time, I'm also 12% English, so it's okay. It's okay. We can still get along well. The topic is very close to my heart because I think this is truly how we should all be looking at our data governance, data management with the agile side and mindset. So yeah, I'm going straight away to share my screen. As Nicola was saying, I'm okay to take questions while I'm presenting the slides. So feel free to type them in the chat, and Nicola, we'll get along to get the answers at the same time. And so sharing the screen. Here we are. You know, I need to be agile also in sharing the screen. Yeah, I know.
Technology is always difficult, isn't it?
I know I'm funny. This is Friday afternoon. Yeah, got mine in French here. So I'm doing like this.
Coming through now.
Yeah, wonderful. Great. Can you see my screen? Yes, wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so yeah, the topic is how to act agile in data governance. And there was a spoiler in the presentation that it is not only a way of getting projects done. This is more a mindset. So first of all, sharing straight away. One of the topics that I like to see the thing, and that's something that we experience in our organizational lives, corporate lives. Jean-Paul Sartre, French writer, wrote a theater piece where one of the character was saying at one point, "Hell is the other people," which would also say like the human are a wolf for human. I don't know in English exactly how you say it, but you see the meaning. And I want this to be one of the mindset shift of this introduction actually. So just to see how it goes. myself, a little introduction. I am based in Geneva. You recognize the fountain. I'm a data and agile expert. I'm also an executive certified coach. And this has a meaning you'll see in a minute. I have a background of 20 years into multinationals, so the big corporations like LVMH. I used to work for Louis Vuitton. Actually, my first job was to create the product codes for the bags, the iconic bags. So can you believe? And at the beginning of my career, I didn't realize how impactful it would mean because it was more in supply chain. And I also worked for Bacardi. I worked for Nestlé here in Switzerland. And the 5 last years, I spent them into missions, mid to long-term missions in Agile data coaching, in pharma, in energy, in trading, and now also in other areas. So I'm really having this passion for data and Agile, both for teams and individuals. So this is a mix of my career. And what my signature program as of today is an individual data governance leadership program where I'm basically combining my knowledge of data governance and the executive coaching, because you are unable to make a mindset shift if you're not basically working a little bit on yourself and on your perspective. So both together are getting along very well. And that's what I'm doing those days. So agile culture and data governance. Why is agile so powerful? What is agile culture for real, and how you can take the most of agile culture in your data journey? Basically, these are the 3 topics I'm going to cover. The first one being, why is agile so powerful? So we do not see all the same reality. That one, you know it, the 6 and the 9. This is quite obvious when you look at it this way, but when you are in the middle of a project, it's a bit more complicated, right? So another example that I also I stole from LinkedIn and internet is the project construction cycle, which can be even longer, where basically when you talk to the client, it's completely different than what you can afford, what the manufacturer will understand, and what was really wanted. So that's where, it's very important to make this shift, to have a common language and be able to talk together properly. So communication is really, really important. So and a last one, very, very shortly, project plan versus project reality, where you think that you are going to make a project in some aspects, and in the end, the reality is that you're doing everything at the end, and you just wonder why you didn't start earlier. So basically, so to stop avoiding making the ostrich, this is what I would like to propose: an agile way. Agile is very simple. We have a problem here I want to share with you. We have the situation where the baby wants to walk to reach his parents. So he's in A and he wants to go to B. Okay, so when we do a regular project management with the regular mindset, this is what we do. We study hard the topic. Then we elaborate the best strategy. And eventually, we make a first attempt, and of course, we fail because we always forget something. This is natural, this is human. You can never have a study covering 100% of the aspects. Whereas when we do agile, real agile, we try with what we have. Then we improve the strategy. Okay, so we elaborate a little more, we make some trial. You know that failing is just a mindset, because fail means first attempt in learning. Okay, so that's what we do. And in the end, we have success because we tried several times with several iterations. So that's basically what is agile and what I like so much about it. Because in the end, you have a result. If we evaluate the same amount of time, we get to a result where in the first element we didn't. Okay, so that's how it looks like. So let's go to the next one. What is agile culture for real? I want to share some perspectives, okay, that maybe you have not seen everywhere. So the perspectives of the methodologies I was mentioning before, so Scrum, SAFe in Agile project management, Kanban or Lean, that we see in more in the operations, in supply chain, in productions, and so on and so forth. There are several others, okay? These are basically the methodologies. What I want you to see is the perspective, because everything is starting with a mindset. So it's first being, then you're getting to some values, then you can have principles, and in the end, you're doing with practices. Okay, so what I want first to ask you who has ever worked in agile practices, so Scrum, SAFe, and so on. You can maybe raise your hand and Nicola, tell me how many you see.
So I've got one person. Oh, I got one hand up, one thumb up, and somebody's written Scrum in the chat. So,
Okay, so basically you have half the people who have already heard, seen, experienced the practices. Yeah, so maybe you can also testimony like me, who has been in such an exercise, that actually the practices alone, without changing the mindset, is going nowhere. And in the best case scenario, you're going back to regular methodologies because you didn't get it, and it's even worse. One middle way of doing it is explaining only to the project management teams what it is, and you forget to ask your internal clients, so the clients are still complaining because they are in the old mindset. This is getting crap, and you're in the end you're getting back to the situation, well, hell is the others. So that's not what we want. So basically, the mind shift of being is something that I'm going to show you now with one point of view that I really like. This is the model of the Semco Style Institute, where I was training myself, which is I think very impactful and very simple. So we first focus on the purpose. The purpose is to make impact. The purpose is to reach the performance that we want. And also one of the purpose is to be happy, because there is no way I want to go to work and not be happy. And there is no way we execute our work and feel bad. And we used to say, when you're working into a company that is really running this agile type organization, is depending how you feel in the Sunday evening before going back to work. Do you feel good? Are you happy you want to get there? Or you're just like, oh no, another week is starting again, And yeah, I think the mindset is there as well. If you're happy, then probably there is a good culture and a good way of working and good interaction. So that's what we are looking for ultimately for us, I think. Core belief. In those core belief, actually, the one that I really love is the common sense. And we used to say it's so uncommon to have common sense in companies. And I'm sure you experienced that as well, and in data even more, that you're starting doing something and you realize that actually this is crap. You're still going to do it because it's been said that in the KPIs you have to value it, So then you're working on something that has no meaning, but you're still doing it because it looks like you have to. Okay. Another core belief is the democracy, and democracy on the political term. Let's say our organizations, our countries are organized in democracies, but is it really democracy? Because the democracy itself is when everybody can value the ideas of the others. I don't know where you're staying, but what I can see in Switzerland is a bit upper democracy. What I see in France, because I'm on both sides, is not really democracy. Okay, is it registered? Oh, I mean, that's what I think. Anyway. The third one is the aligned self-interest, meaning that you need to understand when, if you remember the picture with the 6 9 and both people on each side, well, you need to tell people that you're seeing something different from where you're staying. And the aligned self-interest is exactly that, having enough time to be able to align with the perspective and make sure that you can understand what it means for the others. So these are really elements of core belief to fuel you in your thoughts when you're going back to work on Monday, for example. Then I'm going to show you 5 principles. So I hope 5 is enough and to explain to you everything. And it's also not too much because then you're forgetting. So the 5 elements, the first one is the trust. And that, and that would say, if there is only one to remember, this is the trust itself. We want to trust our data. We want to trust the people who are working in data. So it means that you need to make sure that basically you're working with the this mindset that sometimes you need to spend more time to make sure that the trust is there and you are not breaking it, because everybody knows that when you're working in trust, if you do something that is removing the trust, it's much more difficult to gain it again. And I was lately speaking with one of the person in our data is live team who was saying, yeah, I was 20 years in a company and I was basically going very fast in implementing solutions because trust was there. So that the trust is really a key element in what we are when we are working, what we are doing. Are there any questions so far, Nicola?
Sorry, I'm shaking my head, which is not over useful. No, nothing else yet, Christelle.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm making some spot checks like this.
No
So,
worries.
yeah. So second topic are the alternative controls. And when we're talking about controls, I was talking earlier about those KPIs, So and I was lately doing an inspirational conference at a very big watch company in Geneva. So there are a lot. So it will be hard for you to find. Very confidential in those places. And actually, they were having, I don't know, they were having thousands of KPIs. And they were super happy to show me, oh, yes, and we have an accuracy of 99.5%. And I was there, oh, wow, that's very impressive, Well, for your ego, this is really great to have such a quality in your data. So thousands of things were calculated, were checked around on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, and so on. And in the end, I was just asking the only question I'm asking is that, but is it working well or do you have problems? And they were like, oh yes, we have thousands of problems. Okay, so basically, you're not checking what needs to be checked. Or you're checking a lot of very interesting things, but not the one, you're not focusing on the one that are really causing the problems. So basically, to talk about alternative controls, when I'm arriving in a mission or even when I was into those jobs like yours, basically what I was doing is making a dashboard that was as simple as possible. And we were not checking more than 10 elements, even 7, it's easier. And we were thoroughly checking and we were seeing them improving because we were basically the fact of checking on those real things that were mattering for the business were making the difference. And that's what we talk about when we talk about alternative controls. We are controlling the things that matter. And we always need to be sure that we are not like over influencing on things that don't matter in the end. So that's the example I wanted to share with you. The third element is the self-management. So that's basically when you're hiring people, You're hiring them for their qualities, for their experience, for their skills. And then as long as they are in the company for a year, you're starting showing what are their problems, where you are bad at doing that, you're bad at doing that, we need an improvement plan for this and that. And basically the self-management is starting to really use the trust you have in the skills, in the competence, in the expertise of the people, and you let them do their job. And the self-management is basically the contrary of the micromanagement. And you know that you've seen everywhere on LinkedIn or in your companies that the micromanagement is basically killing self-management, where basically you're also when you go back home, you are on yourself, you are managing your life. So why wouldn't you be able to manage your task at your job? So that's the part of the self-management, and the trust you gain into managing people this way is huge, because you let them also make improvements by also talking with you or with the other people in the team. But there are a number of actions that you can have to make sure that everybody is managing themselves properly. The fourth element is the extreme stakeholder alignment. Everything goes with itself. It all belongs together. So the extreme stakeholder alignment means that you are making sure you really understand your clients, whether they're internal or external. In our case, in data, it's more internal generally. You have a very good alignment with your peers, and you have a very good alignment with the people who are working in your team, by extension in the data arena, because the data people are not necessarily all reporting to you, and those of your colleagues. So the extreme stakeholder alignment means that you need to have a regular checkpoints, making sure that you are really understanding what are the problems, and also you see beyond the problems. And that's the culture of asking questions, and you are not there to talk because you are the expert. We say the wise speaks last. So the being the wise in the room means that you are going to listen to what people have to say, and you are going to ask as many questions as possible to clarify their reality, and also potentially give some aspect that they haven't seen. And in the end, you can talk, and that's what I'm doing a lot in my executive coaching, because the more you grow in your experience, the more you think that you know everything. And basically it's the contrary. You realize that you know less. So you need to listen to be sure that even if you know a lot, there is a small part that you might have missed, and by listening, you might see this little part that you are missing. That's the extreme stakeholder alignment. The last one is the result of the four previous. This is the creative innovation, and that's what is making the difference between regular management and agile management. The creative innovation means that the people are trusting each other, are not controlling too much, or at least are controlling differently, are managing themselves and are able to speak up because they are trusted, and you know exactly what your customers and what your teams need, meaning that this all makes people able to propose new elements to everybody, to have some discussions, and to basically innovate in the way you work. And to tell you a little story about when I was in the middle of my career from here, suddenly I realized I was very creative. And I said, yeah, I'm working in data. Is there a problem here that I'm working in data and I am creative? And the result was quickly showing that no, because you need to be creative. I'm not creative at painting or writing or singing. I'm creative at building Excel tables. And you can be very creative in Excel tables. It's not like putting whatever you want into one of the cells that is recorded and registered and used, but having the idea of how the table should look like and what it would bring as an idea, as a meaning, and how you can improve and simplify the things. We need to use our creativity also in data management. And the innovation itself is that you can agree to finally get rid of something when maybe all your colleagues are not thinking the same, but you can also, with the trust, give a try and see if it works for you or not. So it's not the idea of trashing everything, but this is really the idea of trying to be as creative and innovative as you will basically help in this uncertain world, help getting to the next level, of what you're doing. So this is very, very important. Other questions, Nicola?
No questions yet. And apologies for the recording just stopped and I have got no idea why, but I've restarted it and we can patch them together in the in the end. But no, everybody is just listening to you avidly, clearly.
Okay, so I'm moving then to the next part, which is with the adding up more examples of what I just explained as a methodology to review the agility. Okay, so how can you take the most of agile culture in your data journey? And here I will start with the core team. So the team you're working with, looking at it on a different way. And this is a concrete example I put in place into one of my missions with a pharma company. So even if pharma is regulated, you can do things on a creative way. So I arrived as an external manager. I was interim manager, and I had 4 people with me. And we worked a little bit together. And I said, yeah, obviously more than me on all those aspects. And we evaluated what really those people were interested in, and we cut the work based on their interests, both what they knew, what they wanted to learn, and what was needed. Okay, so 3 elements. And in the end, it finalized this way. So we had someone in charge of lifecycle management, someone more on continuous improvement, another one more on the admin support and the communication, and the last one more on the IT part, technical and project. And I was myself more the organizer, so I was making sure that everything was working well. And I was the go-to person to ensure that when the decision needed to be taken, we were onboarding the right people, and I was making the connection with the advisory board that we created, which was another topic, So basically we worked this way, and although officially those people were reporting to me, in the end, I was really showing this team as a cycle, like in the agile methodologies. And this is really good. You can do in a team, you can do with up to 10 people as a cycle like this. This is from the agile culture. When you are more than 10, it's better to cut in 2 and have 2 teams that are interacting together. The idea is that the team is self-sufficient, so you're able to work on the aspects by yourself. And you help each other, and basically that's what we are doing at Data is Life. We are really working this way, and this is a game changer, really, on the perspective.
So Christelle, Gerard has asked a question. And somebody else is asking before I've even asked Gerard's. So this is really obviously hitting home. But Gerard has asked, when you're forming a data team, are there any tips that you could say on what you'd recommend to create that trust that you're saying is key, that he agrees is key?
I could do a full day workshop on the topic.
Is there just 1 or 2 tips you could give us this afternoon?
Yeah, well, I think the first element, well, if I give you 2 that pop up right now, the first one is really when you're starting meetings is to have this 3-5 minutes of checking on everyone, because when you're arriving into a meeting and you start straight away from scratch on the topic because you don't have time, basically people are not necessarily there already, or they have problems from the previous meeting and so on. So making the check-in as a mandatory I think is really good, and it helps having more trust, and the meeting is getting more efficient. So you're not losing those 5 minutes in an hour. So that's the first element. And the second one is really to listen to each other. It means going to the end of the topics of someone, even if you have the feeling that you have understood everything, you have dropped the topics and so on. And that's something, when you are an expert, as I was explaining before, it's very difficult because you already have 10,000 solutions to the problem, but you haven't listened to everything. So it's better and it's more recognized to listen really until the end. There are some specific situations where you can cut, of course, but then cutting also means that you agree together. So it's one of the practice to gain this trust is also having a consent practice. Sorry, the consent practice is not like we all agree or we agree to disagree, but even if someone disagrees, they consent to continue. And that's what you do when you're cutting someone. You say, yeah, maybe, oh, can I stop you here? Because, yeah, or you really need to continue. And when someone is passionate, sometimes it's better to let them continue.
I think that's excellent advice, Christelle. And Veronica, I don't know if you've got a chance to look at the chat. Veronica has shared something which is fabulous. So I'm sure you've heard of the Japanese concept of ikigai, where what you're doing is in a line with a real purpose and everything. And I love what Veronica shared about when a team member wants to do what needs to be done, and what they need to do equals data ikigai. So I think, Veronica, you need to put that on LinkedIn, and we'll all go on and like and share that. I think that's a fabulous idea, which is true. That is when the magic happens, isn't it? And it's like, as you're saying, Christelle, you get this trust. People actually understand that there's value in what we're asking them to do, and actually good things happen when all these things come together. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Veronica.
Yeah, actually, this is
Oh,
my.
Veronica's raised her hand. Do you want to come off mute and talk or share at all? Oh, no, it's disappeared.
Okay. Let's continue then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go. Second proposal in the project management, because we're going back to the project management. So I give you just a little example of what it looks like between a traditional waterfall project, and a project led in Agile. But I already talked about this. So when you have a traditional waterfall, it takes over the same time. You're having the business requirement specification, the development, and the test, and you're getting to this place. Whereas with Agile sprints, you're going much farther and you're increasing the maturity over the same amount of time. And I can tell you that with one of my clients, I experienced doing Agile sprints into a bigger waterfall project. So basically, into one of the waterfall situation, we actually experienced these little sprints. We had to do this because actually the maturity level on data aspects was very low. And if we would have done only the waterfall way of working, we would have ended up with a maturity that is terrible. And whereas here we onboarded everyone and we worked on the learning curve while doing the development of the tool, which was a data management tool called Samachi. Maybe some of you know. I'm not doing advertisement, but just to tell you, it was a real tool that we implemented this way. And that was awesome. One of the situations I bumped into as I was more in companies is that you arrive with a waterfall approach here, but you haven't onboarded the internal teams, meaning that the internal teams, in terms of maturity, are still there. So basically, when you, as a consultant, you go out of the mission, you're happy because you've implemented state-of-the-art tool, but no one is able to take it. So basically, you have wasted the budget. Let's call it this way. And this is really one of the beauty of Agile is that you cannot waste the money. And when clients are coming to us and they say, okay, we have this 100K to spend to have a data governance implemented, basically we're not saying we're not saying, yeah, it's going to be done for less or for more. We say, okay, we take your budget because that's the budget you negotiated probably a hard way with your managing partners. And we are going to take the most of it. So with that budget of 100K, we are getting you to the highest level you can. And there will be quick wins at the beginning. And for the rest, we are going to make sure that you're getting the most of it for your money. So, and I think that's a bit more complex to look at because you don't know exactly what you're going to get at the end, but you can be sure that with those sprint way of working, you're getting exactly what you need and you're not wasting any money. And that's really nice. So that's our experience with the current project we're in with a Swiss-based foundation. So they trusted us, and that's what we are doing now. A third element that you can implement looking like agile culture is the communities. And the communities are here to help you basically create trust and make sure you're having this stakeholder alignment the more you can. I added here, and you'll get the slide. If you want, you can just write to me. I'll send it, or Nicola does. I don't know how it works exactly. I just gave you a little extract of a course that I created on soft skills for data people with someone who you might know, Pio Marora. And basically the idea is to create this data community. You start with what you have. You know, that's the idea of Agile. You take the stakeholder mapping that you can create on another aspect, and you select the people you want to invite to a regular data community forum. And you don't force people to join, you know, like people who are showing an interest are welcome. You know, those who don't understand, eventually they'll come later because they see the interest. Otherwise, you just move forward with the people who are interested in your topic. And you test the approach with a small group, and you make it grow. And you know, in companies today, maybe some of you already have this kind of users club. This is the same idea, the same approach, and you can make it as a living value in your company and in your data organization. I would say you must be wise on the number of meetings you're doing, because you also need to work on other aspects. But it will this collective intelligence that will show how many you need to do. You know, I was in some of my companies, I was doing it monthly, for some more quarterly, could be also by semester. The most important is that the participants are also okay with the way of doing it, you know. And that's where you're going to review some dashboards that make sense, some quality indicators. You're looking at the project in progress, and you can also create new project all together. What I experienced at Bacardi is actually with this community, some of the people part of the community into different countries took the ownership of leading some of the projects, you know, for everyone, for the benefit of everyone. So I think this is really, really beneficial when you see how it can enhance the whole way of managing data. Any question?
No more questions yet, Christelle.
Okay. So I'm going straight away to the fourth element, which is the governance itself. And on those fourth elements, I can give you a few more ideas in the data governance itself. So when you are building your data governance, so you can use your data community to seek what is going to come next in terms of need in your data business. So you're not an expert in every business you're supporting. So you need to make sure that you're grabbing what those people into your community are foreseeing. For example, one of the aspects I had when I was creating a vendor database, okay, there was this highlight that maybe it could be interesting to have not only the vendor level, but also the hierarchy in vendors, because sometimes the vendor belongs to a bigger group or is serving different factories and so on and so forth. And that, from the perspective of SAP, we only needed the lowest level of that vendor hierarchy. And this came from the community. We said, oh yeah, it makes sense. Let's do it. We don't need it right now, but soon we will need this to dig into our vendor and spend portfolio. So that's an example, and it came from the community. Another example to gain this agility while building your data model, for example. So trying to make your data model as simple as possible with coherence in the pictures. You need to be able to explain it to your grandmother, If it's not clear enough, it means that there is confusion somewhere that is going to hit the fan. So you need to allow space for the potential new requirements and make sure that when finance wants an indicator and supply chain wants another one, and it looks like the same, you need to put them in a room and try to see if it can make sense to be the same. Sometimes not, because the reals, there are real differences. But most of the time, if you're keeping those elements aside, one day or the other, to the steering committee, to even the highest level of the company, two people are going to come with dashboards that are conflicting and they won't be able to understand why. And it's coming from that. So we need to use our data skills as a catalyzer for the company, to catalyze the good practices. Third one is while you're shaping your data acquisition processes. So the same, make it as simple as possible. Sometimes it can take up to 15 steps. We know that. So the thing is that when you're creating it, making sure that you can change easily people from one role to another. So we used to have a matrix that was easy to change. Sometimes, in terms of approval, you can have one person from the finance who's very good at approving that one. And when this person leaves, because she leaves with a lot of knowledge, extensive knowledge, not only the knowledge of a finance role, then it would be someone from supply chain more adequate to approve. I don't know. So don't make it with such a name that you cannot change it easily. This kind of good ideas that you can have to make sure you're not losing the knowledge into the company, and also have the right amount of contributors, approvers, but not too many, because otherwise you're also ruining the process, and that's too bad. I was talking in my meeting before about this topic, so exactly the point. And the last one, while there's a mandatory requirement, we all live into meetings where we are having regulated environments. The compliance is everywhere. So whether it's in energy with those norms, whether it's in pharma or life sciences, when it's in construction or trading, whatever, we all have our mandatory requirements. The thing is not to look at it with a must-have and we have to, but look at the broad side of this mandatory requirement to the benefit of your own governance. The must-have becomes a strength. And I have this example of being under a SOX compliance business, where we had to work with SOX aspects, and you can start saying, oh my God, SOX is really not good. But I can tell you that eventually we really turned it into an advantage to make sure that we were gathering the right elements for the sake of data quality. So working with those people who are in the internal audit can help. And you can even check my LinkedIn profile. The person I worked with made some good recommendation about the work we did together, because actually it was beneficial for both of us. So don't look at it with the mindset of oh my God, one constraint again, more than okay, let's do something out of it. And that's it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Christelle. That has been really interesting. And I think you take different things from hearing it twice. Not that I'm telling everybody you've got to go and listen to the recording, but I think that was it really is interesting when you hear something a second time, your brain thinks of different things. And probably, as you say, you've been in certain meetings today that have, or this week, that have influenced how you've shared things, and the meetings and the clients I've worked with this week have probably influenced what I've received from that. So I think that's really great. And I love the quote from Gandhi at the end. That's
Yeah.
absolutely it, is that, you can't just keep blaming other people. You have to do what you think needs to be done and inspire other people. So I think that's really great. I was going to say, we do have a little bit of time if people have some more questions for Christelle. Gerard has put one in there, but while we're while I think of it, before I forget, you've put your email up there, and I assume the QR takes you to LinkedIn. Is it probably best if anybody wants the slides to contact you one of those ways?
Please do so.
Yeah, definitely. I know you're always happy to help people. So, and the slides would be a really good prompt for everything we've covered. But Gerard's asked a question. So it's a very good one. Is how would you select business representatives to be members of the data governance process? So what qualities would they need to have, in your opinion? So it's an excellent question, Gerard.
Yeah, actually, it's an agile way. So I'm not looking at the org chart per se, even if the org chart can be a good starting tool, at least to have the name of the people. The idea is more, is more to see the interest. So making sure that you have at least one person from each business you represent. So to make sure that you have the emulation. Then having people who have the spark in the eye when you talk about data, because some people don't understand what it means.
That's
And it
very
will
true.
take you ages to make them realize that it has an impact. So I'm always looking at the smoke, into the
Yeah.
where is the problem? If there is no fire, because they see it, there is the smoke, and you can like easily tell them, yeah, you saw this smoke. If we had a good data management, that would help. So let's work together. So this is a way of the idea is not to try convince, but highlighting, and that you're not forcing people to come. What happens in agile culture in more general way is that, like even the, the morning coffee, for example, is not mandatory. But when people realize that it has an impact on their journey, on their day, on the quality of the relationship, then eventually they will come. So you're convincing by showing, basically.
I like that. And you listening to you say that, Christelle, made me think I did some data literacy training for a client last year, I think it was. And they came up with the idea. I wish I had, but this is the joy of it. You're always learning from your clients as well. And they said they wanted to show the difference between a good data day and a bad data day, because they said their feeling was that a lot of people have bad data days, so that the report isn't there on time. When it comes, it's got missing data, or we all know the kind of scenarios. And then they wanted to kind of say that by the end of the day, you've got your job done, but you're stressed and exhausted and everything. Compare that to, you get to work, the report's there, it's right, all the data's complete, no duplicates, no rushing around, I can do my process. And then you go, well, actually now I can use my skills to do other things and add more value. And comes back to what you were saying, actually being happy in their job and feeling more value. And I thought that was a lovely one to a lovely way to explain it. And I think that's right. He's kind of saying, just keep telling people, you should do this and we should do our data better. It doesn't win you any friends. But if you can start saying, look, I understand the challenges you have, and actually I can help you solve those challenges and make life better, it's a much better way, isn't it?
Yeah, and I actually I think the place where it's the most important to be is the coffee machine.
Yes, I totally agree. I think now we're back in the offices more often. I think that is a brilliant way, or if you've got an in-house canteen, stalk the people you want to.
Yeah, your time is your lunch time is also very beneficial, huh, basically. So no,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's yeah. I wanted I didn't explain, but I'm showing you the slide now on resources that can be useful for your journey on agile culture in data. So there is the same Style Institute where I got the certification that you can follow. You can also follow Corporate Rebels. They are sharing wonderful illustrations on LinkedIn. So I'm taking them for myself because I just love them. And if you have a bit time, read the book of Frederic Laloux, Reinventing Organization is a must read. Is illustrated. This version is illustrated. It's very easy to read, and it explains to you really the shift of paradigm that we are currently living. And I would say to bridge also with our now current experience of artificial intelligence, where people start being scared and we're starting using it and so on and so forth. Basically, this agile way is the way to make sure that we are not jumping into AI blindly, and we are giving a chance of using it very wisely. It's also about try and fail and succeed in the end. So in the data journey, this is very important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually written down the book this time because last time I think I was too busy looking and reading the next chat and I didn't go and buy it, but I'm going to make sure that that's on my to-do list now. So I think we got time for one final question that Veronica's put in the chat, which is what advice would you give to a data leader who'd wish to work in a more agile way? What's the first steps that they could take on this journey? Another excellent question.
Yeah, I'm thinking if there is one thing is to work on yourself, on your mindset shifts, because the mindset is making it all. Once you start, I don't want to paraphrase those Greek philosophers, but yeah, you know yourself and you know the world. That's the point basically. I don't know, it's Socrates or Aristotle.
It's one of those, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I think you're right because also I think it's quite interesting when you hear people say things and you've got the benefit of hindsight. I think in the early days, if people didn't do what I wanted them to do, I thought it was their fault and they were wrong. And it took me quite a while to realize that perhaps I wasn't explaining it very well, kind of thing. And I would get defensive if people didn't take to what I wanted them to. And again, I thought that was their fault. I was being defensive because they were being horrible to me. And actually, it took a lot of time for me to realize that I had to look inward first and say, actually, if me explaining it that way means they're not getting it, then that's me, and only I can change that. So,
Yeah, yeah. But that's it takes a lot of time, and it's we also say that the longest journey you're taking is between your mind and your heart. And it's almost the same, because when you're opening up to others, then you realize that the agile methodologies are so much making sense. You cannot force anything in it. It's really um, adapting to the logic of the universe. Let's call it this way. This is being more conscious about what we do. And in data, we are people in data who are very practical. Very pragmatic. And we want and we need to break the silos. So coming from us is very, very important, because we can show the example to most of the other part of the company. because it's part of our DNA. We have to do this. We cannot work in silo. I had a CFO coming to me, one of the clients, saying after one 30-minute introductory call, he said, "Yeah, but Christelle, can we keep our finance data for ourselves?"
Oh no.
So I had to say very nicely, "Yeah, well, it's not going to work this way."
Not quite the idea of it. So that has been absolutely brilliant, Christelle. Thank you so much. There's lots of thank yous in the chat, so make sure you read all of them. Christelle, it has been a really lovely session, and we will get this recording put up on my YouTube channel as soon as possible. So if you want to go back and revisit any parts of it or share it with colleagues, please do. It's nice to help other people on their data governance journey. So thank you so much, Christelle, and thank
You're
you everybody
welcome.
else for joining us.
Yeah, that's really, thank you all for being here. And I wish you a good weekend. And on Monday morning, think about what I introduced, so you can live a better life at work and improve your data management journey.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.